All right, first on the agenda is Yuval.
Hey, yeah, that's a small leftover issue from uh, lots and lots of work that was done on bug notification, debuggability, and upgrades, migration, and all that stuff. So one of the remaining issues is that if we have a persistent queue in Reef and we upgrade to Squid, and we run topic stats on that queue, then the numbers will be incorrect because in Reef, we did not do the accounting of the queue. We didn't have those. And after we upgrade, we start from zero with all the counters that didn't exist. But as we will start adding or removing stuff from the queue, the numbers will be incorrect. So, I mean, I had a quick discussion about that with Ali, that he did the feature, and kind of one option is to um, uh, initialize the value to something that is not zero, and that would mean, well, I'm not sure if we can actually do that. Kind of made like after Squid is already done, so I'm not sure how possible it is. But I mean, if you, in theory, you can maybe check that the queue was migrated, and just don't show all the stats. Don't show the stats at all. Um, this is kind of one option. Um, the other option would be to, upon migration, go through all the entries, count how many entries, what the size and everything, and populate the values with the correct values, and then from now on, that would just work correctly. Um, Again, the extra level of complexity here is that we already have something in Squid, and if we want to change this, then we need to make sure that we don't break Squid.
So there are some other stats mechanisms like user stats that we've had consistency bugs for in the past, and our solution was to add a reset stats command that would just recalculate the stats and overwrite what's there. Maybe that would be a simple thing to add and just document it as a workaround for stats that got messed up by upgrade.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that'd be simple. That'd be a simple solution. And
Do I remember correctly that you were trying to do something like that on upgrades for stats? So there might be
no,
some code around that.
no.
No?
Okay, so what there was once a PR where we actually um, thought of actually backporting the stats to Reef. So, um, like adding the code that does all that stuff in Reef, and then we kind of say, okay, so will people would upgrade to a new Reef release, then everything would break for them, and then we'll have to do the migration. And we said, okay, like doing such a breaking change in the middle of Reef probably doesn't worth it. So we decided not to backport the code to Reef, but the code is in Squid. So and it's great that it is in Squid because it allows for much better debuggability. but I guess saying something like running the reset command when you upgrade from brief to screed and you have existing persistent queues, then might be a valid workaround.
So these queues, they were they still using CLSQ, so they're all in the same Rados object?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, you could add some CLS to just loop over everything in the object and resum it up, and that would be atomic. So hopefully it's not a challenge in that respect.
Right. Now, trying to think if you can actually calculate number of entries at the CLS level. I need to check that. Yeah, because otherwise, right, the stats can change as you calculate it if you do that from the RGW. I think, like, I'm not sure if there's an abstraction issue here, but I'll, like, if the queue knows the number of entries in the queue, not just the size, I'll check that. But yeah, it's better done at CLS level. Okay, I will look into that. Thank you.
All right, any other thoughts here? Next on the agenda is from Sina, though I don't see him here. It seems to just be requesting review of Marcus's copy object encryption stuff. Hey Marcus, thanks a lot for updating this. I did start looking at your COE tester repo, basically trying to evaluate what parts would work in S3 tests and which wouldn't.
Okay. Yeah.
One thing that I saw was that it required a Vault client to
It
look at
requires a
keys.
Vault instance and it requires storage classes set up.
Okay, yeah, S3 test does already set up some storage classes, so that's possible. And I mean, the Vault server is also required to do any of the RGW stuff, but I'm curious whether the script itself needs access to a Vault client. It looks like it's
The
doing
only
something
thing it's doing
to
is listing
validate
out keys. Eventually, it ought to be checking to make sure that the number of keys in there is the same before and afterwards, but I think I forgot to put that in.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that wouldn't be possible to, or we wouldn't want to do that within S3 tests. If it was just doing the validate keys part, we could set that up beforehand and validate it, but.
Casey, could I interrupt for 1 second? The blocking PR that you did to Reef, we want to try to get that in 19.2 in the current Reef release, or do we want to hold off on that?
Sorry, Adam, you're talking about the CVE fix or what?
The one that you pushed, Reef RGW Rados enable object deletion at Rados pool quota. Since priority is high, do we want to try to get that in 18.2.5?
I don't know.
All right.
It's essentially I don't know.
Okay.
I wouldn't consider it a blocker since it's been broken for a long time.
That's fine. If you want to test and merge, I will be happy to put it in the milestone. Otherwise, it can wait for the next reef.
Okay. Yeah, there's the follow-up to so that we use that flag for all writes instead of just deletes. So maybe backport both at the same time when they're ready.
All right, that makes sense.
Okay. So it sounds like there is a need to run the COE tester script in a new Toothology job.
And it would be easy to run it after. Well, if you have an environment that's got the vault set up, you could run it after other tests.
Yeah, I'm thinking just whatever RGW crypt vault transit job we already have. I will look at plugging it into that.
Yeah, that would be an appropriate place.
And is the script running RadosGW admin commands like to set up the
No, it
storage
doesn't do that.
classes, or
I mostly designed that script to run standalone, so it doesn't do any setup. The idea is I can run it multiple times.
okay, great. Then we can probably just use the existing storage class stuff.
Yeah, as long as it matches the config file we give, it should work fine.
Okay. And the config is going to have to know the vault server endpoint.
Yeah, actually, if you import it as a Python script, you could probably you could construct a config object and feed it in that way.
Okay, yeah, just the vault address isn't something that we know at that we can put in the YAML itself. We have to actually start it up, I think, to learn the right host name and stuff.
Yeah, but the Toothology script should be able to figure that out.
Right, we would just have to hook it up in the Python task instead of the YAML.
Right. Yeah. No. My goal was to set it up so that you could import it into the Toothology Python world and run it that way.
Okay. In the README, I see the as a Python module section. That's what you're thinking?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. You'd have to figure out how to construct the config object that it takes. That should be the only hard part.
All right. Well, I can get started on that. Looking at a comment from Sina 4 hours ago, he mentioned an S3 test branch that he has. I think it would be great to take both. Okay.
Is that in regard to copy object encryption or something else?
Yes, it's a comment that he left on your PR.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought I was up to date on what was on there.
Yeah, it was just today. So let's just follow up on that discussion there.
Okay.
And separately, I've seen that you've been debugging some compression problems. Would that be a bug with this PR, or did that come from somewhere else?
I don't know yet. I'm still trying to get information from Mark about how to create it. As far as I know, it's a downstream 7.1 issue, but I don't know that that's true.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have thoughts on copy object encryption? Any more discussion topics? All right, we'll end here. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.